Hello, ladies and gentlemen, loyal Imperial citizens and rebel scum alike. Welcome to another Lee Maiden gameplay video. Back with more Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes today, where, as the title suggests, we're going to be looking at a few more good early Zetas for beginner players to apply in the game, although I think this video could be very relevant to mid and even late game players, just to make sure that you're getting all the very best Zetas for the tunes in your roster. Now, I previously made a video looking at the 5 best first Zetas that I think you should go for first. The first Zetas I think you should go after in the game. Check that out if you haven't already. Link in the top right hand corner. You can see these are the ones that I picked here. I erroneously referred to Brood Alpha's Zeta Queen's Will as conscription. It's Queen's Will, not conscription, as it shows there. But those are the first 5 Zetas that I suggested you go for in the game. So today we're just going to look at the next 5. My suggestion for the next 5 that you might want to go for to get the most out of that early roster. Now, quick caveat. When I made that first video, I was very much looking at individual Zetas, right? Initiative, Merciless Massacre, Battle Meditation, so on and so forth. Today's list, we're going to be looking a little bit more at characters that you want to Zeta rather than individual Zetas. So I am going to go through the individual Zetas where you want to be spending those Zeta materials, but when I include a character, I'm not necessarily saying there's just one Zeta to go after. Basically, some of the characters I'm going to talk about today, you're going to be spending more than one Zeta on them. You're going to be putting multiple Zetas on them because they're just that good. Alright, so without any further ado, let's move on to your next 5 best beginner Zetas. First up is Kylo Ren Unmasked. Now, Kylo almost made it onto that first top 5 Zetas list. It was a very tough choice between him and Brood Alpha. Ultimately, I went with Brood Alpha, although I think actually if you're going after Supreme Leader Kylo Ren as your first galactic legend, then you're probably going to want to Zeta Kylo Ren Unmasked before you Zeta Brood Alpha. Either way, they're definitely top picks. Both great choices, both very important for Arena as well as Galactic Legends. Obviously, you're using Brood Alpha to unlock Padme. Okay, but focusing on Kylo Ren Unmasked, so his first Zeta is this leadership ability, Merciless Pursuit. First Order allies have plus 40% critical damage and plus 30 speed. When a First Order ally scores a critical hit, they gain 20% turn meter. When a First Order ally gains a status effect, they recover 5% health and 5% protection. This is a pretty good leadership ability, and adding that Zeta there really does make a difference. It bumps up the percentages of the speed, the crit damage, and so forth that his allies are getting. It's a pretty solid leadership ability, throwing around those buffs to everyone who's operating under him on that First Order team. And then the second Zeta, of course, comes in the form of Scarred. Now, Scarred is really the Zeta that I think makes Kylo Ren Unmasked Kylo Ren Unmasked. When Kylo takes damage, he recovers 8% health, and a random First Order ally who doesn't have it gains advantage for 2 turns. Kylo Ren has a 50% counter chance, double when he has Taunt. Kylo takes reduced damage from percent health damage effects and gains Taunt for 1 turn at the start of each encounter. So Merciless Pursuit, pretty solid, pretty good leadership ability, but it's Scarred that really makes Kylo Ren. This transforms him. Kylo Ren Unmasked suddenly becomes really tanky with this Zeta, right? He's got that Taunt, he's got that advantage, he's got that counter chance, and he's got that health recovery. He suddenly becomes this really tanky leader, and honestly, I've seen Kylo Ren, so you can see my Kylo Ren here. I'm slowly building him up, but I'm so focused on Sith Eternal Emperor right now, I've not relicked him yet. He's definitely on the list to relic. He's definitely a character you should relic, and I've seen teams with a relicked Kylo Ren. Everyone else is trash, but if he's got this Zetas and he's powerful enough, he can carry that team through, and it's really Scarred that does that. So if you're going to choose one, choose Scarred, but you really want to go with both. Next, representing the light side, we're on to Jolie Bindo. Now, obviously, my #1 choice in the previous video for your first Zeta was Bastila Shan, and I do think Bastila Shan is probably your best bet for your first Zeta. Around that early portion of the game, you're going to end up with a lot of Jedi, and Bastila is an awesome leader for those early Jedi teams, and obviously, she's required, along with Jolie Bindo, to unlock Jedi Knight Revan. So you're going to have both of these characters, Bastila and Jolie. They're going to be farming priorities for you in the early part of the game. First, you're going to get Bastila, then you're going to move on to Jolie. You're going to be starring both of them up to 7 stars so you can unlock JKR. Why not throw a Zeta on Jolie? In fact, I think it's pretty essential that you do. Not to unlock JKR, but for how you're going to use him after you've got JKR. Now, Jolie's only got 1 Zeta. That looks pretty bad. Let's take a look at what it does. Now, Jolie's a healer, so this Zeta dispels all buffs on target ally, and they recover 40% health. So far, so good. Then, and this is key here, this is what the Zeta adds, then revive all defeated Jedi allies at 80% health and grant those allies crit immunity for 5 turns. Wow. Take a moment for that to sink in. If you're not familiar with this Zeta on Jolie Bindo, take a moment for that to sink in. He dispels all debuffs, heals the target ally, then revives all defeated Jedi allies at 80% health. This is an incredible Zeta. It's a game-changing Zeta. I cannot tell you how many times Jolie Bindo has come through and won a battle for me by reviving all of his allies. It's an awesome Zeta to use with Bastila Shan. Once you've unlocked him, it's an awesome Zeta to use with Jedi Knight Revan, and that's why it's earned a place on this list. Now, Jolie's a little harder to unlock than Bastila. You're going to be getting him either from hard side node D6, so a little further into the hard nodes, or a fleet battle 4E. So a little harder to unlock than Bastila, but with the changes that they've made to the farming economy, still very accessible even at the beginning of the game. Speaking of Jedi Knight Revan, here he is on this list, number 3, number 8 overall, I guess, if you include the last ones from the previous video, but who's counting? Now, Jedi Knight Revan, I would have said before that he was very much a mid-game legendary, but again, speaking of those changes with the farming economy, the way they've made characters much more accessible, Jedi Knight Revan is really a legendary that you can go after really pretty quickly. It doesn't take you that long to get Bastila Shan and Jolie up to the 7 stars, so really within the first few months of the game, people can be unlocking Jedi Knight Revan. That's of course even without buying the Hyperdrive bundle, which means if you're willing to do that and then drop a few hundred extra, you can get him on day 1. But even free to play, he's a pretty accessible legendary, and really I think one that you should go after. He's probably the first game-changing legendary that you can go after. Grandmaster Yoda, Palpatine, even Thrawn, they are great legendaries and they're definitely worth going for, and you will use them later, but even Thrawn with his unique fracture and everything that he does with ships later, they don't exactly change the way you play the game and really bump up the power of your teams. I think it's Jedi Knight Revan is probably going to be the first legendary that you unlock who really just dramatically changes where you're able to get in Squad Arena, for example. He's just that powerful. So a lot of his power does actually come from his Zetas, and there's 3 of them. So the first one is General, his leadership ability. For each Jedi and each Old Republic ally at the start of battle, and this excludes summoned allies, Jedi and Old Republic allies gain 5 speed, 5% crit chance, and 5% offense. At the start of battle, Jedi allies gain tenacity up for 1 turn. While Revan is in the leader slot, and not the ally slot, units are immune to bonus turn meter effects from leader abilities until the start of the first turn of battle. Whenever a Jedi ally attacks out of turn, they recover 20% of their max protection and deal 35% more damage. When a Jedi uses a basic ability on an enemy with bonus protection, reduce the target enemy's max health by 10%, stacking, although it doesn't work against raid bosses. At the start of each Jedi ally's turn, they gain strategic advantage if no ally has strategic advantage. A Jedi ally with strategic advantage can't be countered. Strategic advantage, dispel all debuffs on a target other Jedi ally. They gain strategic advantage and assist using their basic ability. Wow, that is a lot of text and a lot of buffs, a lot of advantages that Jedi allies get if you have Revan in the leader slot, and that is where he wants to be. Now the next Zeta is on direct focus. This is a very powerful ability. It inflicts buff immunity and marked on the target enemy for 2 turns. These effects can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted. It increases the target enemy's cooldowns by 1, which can't be resisted, and reduces their turn meter by 50% and stuns them for 1 turn. This attack can't be evaded. Then on top of that, it calls all Jedi allies to assist, dealing 50% less damage. This is awesome. It's Jedi Knight Revan's trump card. This is how you get around taunts, how you get around that zombie Night Sister taunting. This is how you get around enemies throwing marked on their allies as an evasion tactic. It is awesome. It's how you take out Brood Alpha with Jedi Knight Revan. It's a really powerful ability. Definitely worth the Zeta. And now his 3rd Zeta is Hero. Jedi Knight Revan is immune to stun and ability block. Revan has plus 10% tenacity, health steal, max health, max protection, critical hit avoidance, defense, and critical damage. Other light side allies gain half these bonuses while Revan is active. These bonuses are doubled while Revan is in the leader slot and not in the ally slot. Once again, a ton of buffs, although Hero is mostly focused on Revan as opposed to his allies. But hopefully you can see here through these 3 Zetas that Revan is just an awesome leader. General, Savior, and Hero combined to mean he's buffing his allies, he's protecting them from early defeat, and he's buffing himself. So you can really see how this can be a game-changing legendary, but how you also need these 3 Zetas. So previously when we were looking at Kylo Ren, I was saying, oh, if you're only going to do one, do this one, do Scarred. I'm not going to say that with Jedi Knight Revan. When you unlock Jedi Knight Revan, you really want to have these Zetas in the bag. You want to have 60 Zeta materials just sitting there in the bag and a whole bunch of Omegas so you can apply these right away. He's worth it, and he's worth these 3 Zetas. That's why he's on the list. Coming in at number 4, we're back to the dark side with General Grievous. Now this is an interesting choice because, as you will notice, I do not have the Zetas that I'm about to extol the virtues of applied to my Grievous. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an example of do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, I unlocked Grievous really early on. He was one of those characters that I went after pretty doggedly. Again, this was before they made the changes to the shard economy, and then once I'd unlocked him, I kind of lost interest. I just didn't do anything with him, and that is kind of a tragedy. I totally accept that. This is a major failing on my part because he is an awesomely powerful toon, and now they have changed the shard economy and he's even easier to get. I really think that you need to go after him. He is a great unit. As you can see, I've only got him at gear level 8 here, so I'm not using him at all. That's a crime. You should unlock him, and you should use him, and you should apply these 2 Zetas. Zeta number 1, the first Zeta we're going to look at, is his leadership ability, Daunting Presence. All enemies have minus 40% critical avoidance and minus 50% defense. Whenever a dark side droid ally is resisted, that droid ally gains 10% potency, which is stacking for the rest of the encounter. Target locked enemies can't counterattack. When a target locked enemy is damaged, each droid ally and each separatist ally gains 2% turn meter, doubled for Grievous. When damaged by an attack, dark side enemies lose 5% turn meter and light side enemies lose 2% potency, and that is stacking. So this is a leadership ability that, rather than focusing on buffing his allies, it punishes the enemy. It reduces their ability to defend themselves and to land critical hits on Grievous and his allies. A different way of fighting, a much more offensive way of fighting. The second Zeta is Metalloid Monstrosity. At the start of Grievous's turn, all other droid allies take damage equal to 8% of his max health. So all of Grievous's droid allies are getting damaged at the beginning of his turn. They're losing health equal to 8% of Grievous's max health. That's doubled for light side droids. And Grievous gains 5% max health and potency for each other droid ally. Now at the start of every other character's turn, if Grievous is below 100% health, he dispels all debuffs on himself and inflicts marked on the healthiest allied droid until the end of the turn. Whenever a droid or separatist ally is defeated, Grievous dispels all debuffs on himself, resets all ability cooldowns, and gains a bonus turn. Wow. Wow. So Daunting Presence, that attacks the enemy, focuses on taking them down. Metalloid Monstrosity, that focuses on Grievous and turns him into, well, a Metalloid Monstrosity, a complete beast. This is a very, very powerful Zeta. Much like Grievous, the way he acts in canon in the movies and in Clone Wars, he doesn't care about his allies. He's more than happy to sacrifice his allies if it means he survives and if it means he's able to take out the enemy. It's a really powerful Zeta. I think it's a really cool Zeta because it also really fits with his character. And it's particularly effective if you're going to be using Grievous with the other separatist droids, and that's really the ideal team for him. They're characters that you have to farm anyway if you want to go after General Anakin Skywalker, and it really just makes Grievous a complete beast. You're not going to survive with the whole team. Just the very fact that he's draining health from them is probably going to mean that he's going to lose allies along the way, but Grievous doesn't care. He's a Metalloid Monstrosity and he is going to take you out. Don't be like me. Don't farm Grievous and then waste him. Farm him, gear him up, and then throw both these Zetas on him. And finally, rounding out this next 5 Beginners Zetas list, we have Commander Luke Skywalker himself, CLS. Now this was actually a really difficult decision for me. It's always difficult to come up with that final one. These aren't necessarily presented in any order, but there are so many great Zetas out there. Now I've thrown, as you see, this is the second legendary. I've thrown 2 legendaries on this list. This is the second one along with JKR. We're now getting CLS, and that is really because, again, I've spoken about it a lot during this video, but the changes that they made to the shard economy, it means that a lot of these legendary characters that would have been mid-game legendaries are now really accessible. Commander Luke Skywalker, you need specific team to go after him. Old Ben, Princess Leia, Stormtrooper Han, Farm Boy Luke, and R2. R2, of course, is a legendary himself, but he's very easy to get. All you need to unlock R2 is 5 Empire characters. Very easy. You'll definitely have those at the beginning of the game. Lots of good choices there. And then you can unlock Commander Luke Skywalker. Now, I don't think CLS is quite as legendary as JKR, or quite as revolutionary, rather, as JKR. He's not going to completely change your gameplay or your standing in Squad Arena, but he is a real solid legendary. You're going to get a lot of use out of him, and of course, just like JKR, the team that you use to unlock him then has a lot of great members that you can use with him. In fact, you know, that team that I just mentioned, those 5 Rebel characters, you can pretty much use any combination of those with CLS at the beginning, and that is a great Rebels team for you right there. That's why I've included him on the list, because I do think he's now accessible to beginner players. Now, just like Jedi Knight Revan, you once again really need 3 Zetas dropped on CLS in order to get the most out of him. The first one, his leadership ability, Rebel Maneuvers. Rebel allies have plus 50% counter chance, plus 50% defense, and 15% offense. Whenever an enemy resists a detrimental effect, Rebel allies gain 5% turn meter. That's pretty cool, pretty basic, but pretty cool. Those extra buffs and then that extra turn meter. Now that's really where that leadership ability comes in. That extra turn meter, don't dismiss it, it adds up. Second, learn control. While Luke doesn't have call to action, that's his ultimate ability, so while he doesn't have that active, he has 50% counter chance, 50% critical avoidance, and 50% defense, plus 100% tenacity, and gains 10% turn meter whenever another Rebel ally takes any damage. Again, with the turn meter gain. That's the thing with CLS. He's always gaining a lot of turn meter, feeding that turn meter, or taking turn meter away from the enemy. He really controls turn meter, and that's where his real advantage comes from. Finally, it binds all things. Luke has plus 40% potency. Whenever Luke resists a detrimental effect, he recovers 5% health, 5% protection. Whenever Luke inflicts a debuff, he gains, there we go, 10% turn meter, and other allies gain half that amount. So once again, this focus on turn meter, and with call to action, his ultimate ability, which gives him that protection and health regain, and then use the force, which takes away turn meter from the enemy, he's really a very powerful character, manipulating turn meter both for his allies and the enemy. That's where CLS's strength lies, and these Zetas are key to that. Well, there you go. That is my list. The next 5 best Zetas for beginner players. Kylo Ren Unmasked, Jolie Bindo, Jedi Knight Revan, General Grievous, and Commander Luke Skywalker. There's a lot there. You're going to be spending a lot of Zetas if you max all these people out. You're going to be spending 6 just on JKR and CLS alone. I do recommend that you max out everybody else though. Kylo Ren Unmasked and Grievous as well. They're worth there too. Jolie, he's cheap, only on 1, but it's well worth it and enough there to keep you busy in the early stages of the game. Well, there you go. That's my list. What do you think? Are these Zetas you're going after? Do you think I missed anyone? Let me know. Comments, criticisms, and suggestions welcome down below. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me today. If you did enjoy this video, find it informative or entertaining in any way, please consider giving it a like, a thumbs up down below, and while you're here, why not consider subscribing to the channel? I drop new gameplay videos for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and Marvel Strike Force every week, and I would absolutely love to have you. That is all for Liam Maiden Gameplay today. I'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, look after each other, and remember, the Force will be with you always.